Hello. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar on the future of brand marketing 2024. And thank you so much for joining us today. Before we get started, I'd like to do a quick activity to set the scene. Please, could you write in the chat what you understand by the term brand marketing in 1 to 2 words? I'll give you about a minute to do so, and then we can continue. All right, thank you for sharing. So, according to Amazon, brand marketing is promoting a brand's products or services in a way that elevates the brand as a whole. It involves creating and maintaining brand customer relationships. Now, I want to stress on this because brand customer relationships is exactly what we're going to be exploring today. By the end of this webinar, you will discover how to engage consumers in real time at multi branded stores, explore the wide array of Web3 technologies that strengthen the brand customer relationship, and understand how data driven strategies boost commercial growth. We have with us today two well known professionals in the field of brand marketing. Mr. Vardarajan Prakash has had over 25 years of experience at top brands such as Unilever, Kraft Heinz, and Fonterra. He has joined us today to give his unique perspective on how brands can gain a competitive advantage in today's world by offering amazing customer experiences. Mr. Wasim Marabi is the CEO and co founder of Verifax, who also joins us with his wealth of experience over the years at consumer brands such as Nokia and Nestle. So, without further ado, Mr. Prakash, could you share with us how marketing has evolved over the years and how consumer interactions with brands have influenced this? Sorry, I think Mr. Prakash, there's a small connection problem. I'm not sure if it's just me. Wasim, are you able to hear him fine?
Ria, are you able to hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry, apologies. I
No.
just was, I'll quickly rewind for a few seconds if you've lost my connection. Ria, Wasim, thank you so very much. Wonderful to be with you and all the audience who are there out there on this afternoon. Uh, as I was saying, I've been here in the region for a little over 25, 30 years with various consumer brand companies, been in trade marketing, business development, market expansion. And it's FMCG brands has always fascinated me. That's been my passion. And I was just thinking when Ria invited me to be part of this some time back, if you were to just rewind it a little while, 96 was when UAE had its first what was so-called modern trade. 96 was when the new Carrefour, then called Continent, opened in Dubai. And we in various consumer brand companies said, what's this going to be doing here? It's UAE is a desert. It's all grocery led, it wholesale led. Forget Saudi. We were talking of UAE then. So that was in '96 when it was not even called as Carrefour. It was called as Contina. They had 54 checkouts, and we said, "What are they doing here? 54 checkouts in city center." And thankfully, we were proved wrong. They've just revolutionized the way consumers experience brands, consumers interact with brands, give a fantastic ambience, fantastic experience for consumers to look, touch, and feel products. And having been on the other side, our focus was always to say, how do we delight the trade? may not be so much the consumers. So it was all about key account management, best practices, shelf management, lighting, and whatever. Andrea, would you be putting up that slide on one, two? Yeah. So as the slide comes up, you will see, I think the one before that. Yeah. So basically, this was the evolution of modern trade, evolution of big brands. The big companies got bigger, but as I said, it was more about focus on the trade, trade management, and trade marketing. Not much of consumer insights. Consumer insights was all through the Nielsen and whatever, which used to come much, 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 much later. I'll pause here, and if there's anything which anyone wants to, I will make it as interactive as possible. And if there's anything to, Ria, I think you need to go to the slide before this. I think
Okay, the one on evolution, right?
evolution. Yeah, I just want to just
Sure.
yeah. So the focus was all about demand creation, driving, pushing stocks into trade, and of course, as I said, in some fantastic experiential kind of thing in the trade. So consumers liked it. It was the start of the big malls, as I said, the city center in Dubai, the Mall of the Emirates much later, and so many hundred more after that, and the neighboring countries like Saudi Arabia and all followed with this. So a lot of it was much later after the consumer had seen. Very little focus on, I worked on a lot of nutritional brands. The focus was not so much on how do we connect and get some information from or get some consumer insights. So that was marketing one, as the slide talks about. As it progresses, I would say marketing two was probably late 90s, early 2000. That's when the email and websites revolution happened. A lot of social media content got, it was the start of the internet penetration, smartphones, and all that. Lot was done, but too much was done, and I think not much was harnessed as far as the data which was coming out. There was lots of things, a lot of traffic was driven, but not much effort was made to be connected with the consumer. I would add a step 2B or a 3A, whatever you want to call it, which was the COVID phase. Now, COVID did many, many, many things. COVID forced people to spend a lot of time with their phones at home, work from home, which meant mobile phone, smartphones, social media was the only way consumers were really connected with the outside world. This led to a lot of things, in my view. A lot of new category creations got accelerated. For example, health and wellness, healthy snacking. These were all categories which consumers and what is good for their skin and hair, the specialty teas, functional teas, all got created or got accelerated during the COVID phase. And I will talk about a few examples which have done exceptionally well in this space. And this was the growth or the birth of D2C or direct to consumer brands, which just bypassed the modern trade because COVID forced many of the consumers to do all their shopping, all their information consumption needs. Here, when I just talk of this penetration, it's not just about product consumptions, it's about related media and accessories which happen. I'll talk about it a little later, but that's the phase. And then the three A or 2B, whatever we want to call it, a lot of hyper personalization happened. Consumers and brands started interacting directly with consumers, picking up a lot of data. There's some amazing examples, which thanks to this webinar, I also did a lot of reading about some of the brands which have just taken off over the last 24, 36 months in this space. Personalized content, personalized product, hyper personalization. It was not necessarily in fashion, it's in beauty, personal care. I'll talk of a chocolate brand which has done it. So I'll pause here and allow any feedback, any questions, any thoughts. Okay, so That's great. Either it was too clear or, or very little understood. But I'll progress on this. But I think I talked a lot of, there was a lot of English. I just want to mention a couple of brands which have done. I recently discovered a brand called, interesting, it's called The Spoiled Child. I don't know how many of the audience or how many of you have heard it. It's a brand which has clocked 50 million, oh, 50 million in a year, broken even, done exceptionally well, hyper personalized personal care products. Where, what is the story? Instead of solving a problem, they're saying the millennial consumers, the Gen Z consumers, that you can stop this problem. So they're talking of aging, hair, skin. And last night, very late, yesterday late night, I took a quiz before you go. It's called the Spoiled Brain. The quiz is called the Spoiled Brain. You take a quiz. It takes 3 minutes. You go through the quiz, and then it gives you a hyper personalized recommendation for your skin, hair. So don't look at my hair, but I still took that quiz. I took that quiz, and it tells you this is what you need. The beauty of this is it uses something like 250,000 data points across consumer brands. Moment I fill in my data, it knows there is somebody like Prakash sitting somewhere else. It just drives deep, and there is a set of hyper personalized recommendations. The beauty of it is just pay for shipping. You get the product free. Only if you're happy, you can pay for the product later. Exceptionally hyper personalized range of product. And I was reading the reviews because since I didn't buy it, I was reading about what people think is one of those internet or those kind of hype. People just love the product. They said it's so very close to the problem I have. It's all data and AI mining, and they're able to offer a set of solutions which consumers just love it, particularly the new generation. It talks of aging to 20-year-olds, it talks of skin condition to 25-year-olds. So instead of solving a problem much later, it's saying you can stop this condition, which you will have it much later. It's a great example. There are many such examples that I talk. Health and wellness is something which has just exploded, and they've got hyper personalized. There is another brand called Wellbeing Nutrition. Wellbeing Nutrition again uses a lot of data points to give you a set of absolutely natural range of products, completely natural. And I met the founder. He was saying most of the modern day medicines, you consume a lot of plastic. There is 40-50% of plastic which goes into your system. This is 95% natural. You have beetroot, you have other iron supplements. So much so, Disney loved this range. They are creating a range for Disney, especially for them. So I thought I'll just mention that it's the age where you're directly talking to consumers, you're directly interacting with consumers. There are fantastic tools where I talked of the modern retail. Today, if you go to the Carrefour, you go to any of this, look at these sections which have evolved over the last 3, 4, 5 years in well-being, health and wellness, personalized beauty and skin. So I thought I'll just mention this example, how this can be mined, how this can be, the insights can be really used. As I said, I was shocked when they said they use 250,000 data points, triangulate this data, and create absolutely wonderful range of skin and hair product. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Now, you want me to go on, Rion? Is there anything which Wasim or you are going to be talking about here?
No,
I
I
think
think
I want to actually follow on what you've mentioned. As you rightly said, today marketing 3.0 is all about hyper personalization. It's all about direct to consumer. It is all about interacting and being able to engage in a way that is more effective, for promotions to become more effective, for advertising and marketing to be more direct at the point of purchase, or on a direct to consumer. So I think I fully agree with everything that you've mentioned, and the brands that are leading the way. So thank you for that insight.
Yeah. Okay, Ria, are you? Uh, do I continue? What's it now?
Yeah, yes, Mr. Prakash. If you could maybe elaborate a bit on the marketing challenges and the change in
Yeah,
consumer behavior that are driving the changes
yeah,
within the brand marketing, that would be great.
fantastic. Thank you. I spoke about the evolution of modern trade, and I can put up my hands and say I was also one of the many hundreds of marketeers who are guilty of kind of spoiling the modern trade to say that okay, we make this investments, putting it on the shelf didn't mean that the product was getting picked up by the consumers. You hardly had anything, any consumer data, and that
Yeah,
cost has gone up. It's just ballooned. It's almost impossible for any new brand to get into a Carrefour or any of the modern retail outlets. So that started in 2018-19, got further accelerated during COVID. And just by putting it there, you hardly had any insights what the consumer was doing. Today,
yeah,
there are powerful tools. At the click of a button, you're able to know what the consumer is doing because you're able to track them at home. You're able to track what their purchase behavior is going to be. So there is so much which can be done. The pace at which you can launch new brands is much faster,
yeah.
and you don't need the expensive modern retail channels to be launching your brand and gaining success. There are some very good examples. I will talk about it later. Yeah, Wasim.
Yeah, I think from our experience as well with certain global brands, all of the queries are coming around how do I connect direct to consumer
Yeah,
at the time of purchase in store, and then offer exactly like you mentioned, offer a hyper personalized experience. Even if I don't know the consumer, I want them to know about our product, why the doctors are recommending it. That it is their maybe influencer's favorite brand, that it is good for their children to have that product. It is a safe product for their children. It is authentic. Some consumers are, actually the majority of the consumers are also looking today at, am I really harming the environment by selecting this product, or is it really sustainable enough for us to buy it? So within that context of new consumers, Gen Z specifically, and then how do you actually provide them with all, how do you satisfy their thirst for more information, so
yeah,
for them to learn, for them to get personalized recommendation, promotion. And even if there is someone in a store, so forget about even the supermarket, if it is, for example, in a garment store, or a branded store, how do you actually empower the staff in the store to service them correctly? So you're
yeah.
absolutely right. These are all hyper personalized experiences that brands are looking at.
Absolutely. Uh, Ria, I just want to mention one example with time
Yeah.
permitting. Brands with purpose are leading the way. Brands with purpose are winning. The big brands are realizing it, but there are smaller brands which find that, for example, I want to talk about a brand called Tony's Lonely Chocolate. Now, it's a fascinating story. In the interest of time, I'll quickly. It was a chocolate is one of the most abused modern slavery industries. So we probably don't know. This started with a journalist who went to Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire, found that it was the most exploited industries. So that made them. This is a Dutch journalist. They started this brand called Tony's Lonely Chocolate. Every word has got a meaning. Tony is the journalist's name, I think. Lonely because he says these are the only people who are trying to help the farmers, chocolate farmers, which are the most exploited. And of course, chocolate is the product. Now, what they have that you can scan the code, like I think Wasim made a mention that brands with purpose, brands with what do they stand for? Is it doing anything into the environment? ESG has become a big subject. What are these guys doing? So you can track where the source of beans is. These guys pay a higher price, and I'm a big chocolate fan, and maybe because of the big purpose they have, I find the chocolate to be far superior because of what they do. And believe it or not, last night I discovered that you could get a personalized bar of chocolate. You could order it online. You could say, "This is the wrapper I want. This is for my friend." And I asked, in fact, I wrote to the company. They said we could personalize one bar. We could personalize one bar. We'll give you a QR code. You can track the farmer. You can find out what's happening with the bean, and we can ship it to you. But not to UAE, but they do it for about 5, 6 countries there. So this is a great story how purpose-led brands with technology. For example, you could track where this what they're paying for the beans, what they're doing to the farmer, what they're doing to the socialism through a QR code, which can be scanned, and consumers are delighted. Like the Gen Z, the new modern age consumers who are looking at, does it do good for the environment as much as it does good to me? So yeah, I thought I'll mention this example. Yeah,
No,
Well,
thank you so
I'm
much
sure it's
for
not going to be
sharing.
lonely for a long period of time. By the way,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, with that thought in mind, I did want to ask the audience a question. So, what are some of the key factors that influence you when you shop with a particular brand? I'll just leave you with this thought. While Mr. Wasim, if you could explain to us how brands can protect themselves from this serious problem of brand dilution and use the upcoming technologies in the market to solve this challenge.
absolutely. Well, I mean, I'm going to be building actually on what Mr. Prakash has just mentioned. So today in the stores, the brands are very hard to actually feature on the shelves. And if they do feature, it's very hard for them to stand out. And typically, the only way for them to really then drive sales or drive conversion or trial has been by focusing only on some kind of promotions. So let's do a 2+1, and then maybe that will help. Or but actually that doesn't improve the brand. That does dilute the brand. And whereas the consumer of today, they are connected consumers. Each of us has a computer in our pocket. COVID-19, like it was mentioned, was the best kind of a chief technology transformation officer, right? And it has helped everyone to now we actually go to a restaurant and we scan a QR code, we order a menu, and so on and so forth. A similar trend is currently happening within the supermarket for brands to be able to get three benefits, and these are tremendous benefits. So one is, how do you now communicate direct to consumer? So whatever information that you want to educate them on it, and then and engage them on it, how do you communicate that? How do you demonstrate your purpose to your clients in order for you to acquire them and retain them long term? How do you even reward them for their purchases? So, using computer vision, a lot of product can actually today demonstrate a certain purchase of a product. And then, what kind of an experience would does your brand deserve to give to the consumers? And I think there we've helped a number of brands as well create those immersive experiences around the product, a lot of excitement, a lot of content that the consumers not only can now digest, but actually also publish socially and say, look, I found this brand. It stands for sustainability. It stands for wholesome quality for your children. It stands for verified health and wellness kind of qualities or properties, and then you share it with your friends, and now all of a sudden they become your advocates rather than only your clients. So now the question is how. So, okay, so it sounds great. Yeah, we can turn products interactive, and you can verify the purchase, and you can create that hyper personalized, direct marketing, or build on top of it certain commerce. So how do you do that? Well, it's quite simple. In today's world, each and every product, we don't see it, but it has a certain maybe unique identifier. So it has some kind of either a printed kind of a batch number or unique product number, or it might have a certain QR code that is unique to the product, and that QR code is equating or equates to a certain web link. So think of it as a landing page per item, And then this is where you start actually gathering data about that specific device that is being used, which is linked to a certain customer profile. For example, for a certain brand, where the brand is asking the consumers, if you want to win a ticket to FIFA World Cup, or a cricket tournament or something of the sort, then scan this product in order to get access, and then that will allow for the device now to be recognized, the product to be recognized. If it is consumed, the computer vision will detect that, and now you're starting with that personalized experience. And the computer vision has evolved quite a bit, I think, in recent years. So this is now reaching a stage where it is actually possible to launch it across so many different brands, and you're able to understand if a product is actually in the right quality, not in the right quality, if it is authentic or not, if it is, a number of different checks can also be happening simultaneously on the product. Um, I think beyond that, today there are a number of brands as well that are creating those immersive experiences, such as augmented reality. There are a number of brands that have used augmented reality at home, where you can try something on you, and recognizing your foot and so on and so forth. You're able to overlay a certain how will that shoes look on you, or how that watch, and so on and so forth. And that has demonstrated so much upselling to the consumers. So this is how good it looks on you, and you will find that the consumers will actually buy those aspirational products that they might see. And trying it on without actually having to go to the store, etc., is one element. But then also at the store, what kind of an augmented reality experience do you want to have? Or even out of home, how would you want to engage your consumers out of home? And this is a very interesting use case from, I think, Gillette, where how do you offer them a way to get closer to the game as a brand, focus on the consumer, what is their interest, how can they get closer to the game, closer to the player, and then put your brand center stage there, and then enable them to get certain rewards for publishing that they are there on their social media. And that it's just endless of how much you can generate in terms of direct engagement and value for the brand and the consumer. But I mean, if we think about it, okay, this is all good. Yeah, it's a nice experience. Yes, the brand is collecting more data points in store. They're finally able to not just discount their product or dilute their brand. As it is, they are facing pressure from direct to consumer brands, like Mr. Prakash mentioned, or also from private label brands from the stores. Carrefour today has a significant range that is also private label. So now they're actually in a place where they're being squeezed on both sides. Direct to consumer brand, which does extremely well, with consumers, and then private label brands on the shelves, and whereas they have to pay a very premium price for them to be sitting on that same shelf. So what is it that how is it that you can actually turn that around and enable for those brands to still have a fighting chance? It is quite simply the data that comes out of it, and the bridge as an direct advertising bridge, direct commerce bridge. If I bought this product first and I loved it, if I want to reorder it, I can actually just scan again that product unique identifier, and it would take me to the store. To their unified commerce. So where they have their e-commerce platform. So it's a number. So all of that data, like we just mentioned, a number of data points that you'll be able to collect in store will actually drive a higher rate of conversion, of recommendations, of satisfaction of the customer from personalized experiences or offers, and then beyond that, the advocacy. So turn your customer into your advocate. And these are not just numbers that we're making up. These are numbers that were validated across 50 markets, across different brands that Fortune 100 brands that we've serviced, where we help those brands reduce their cost of customer acquisition by 20x, improve their promotional conversion, which is how many people saw the promotion on shelf and then ended up buying, to increase it by an orders of magnitude. Like it could be 0.5% conversion, we increase it to around 70%. So orders of magnitude. Beyond that, it's, well, what did we do to the brand and the customer retention? And the results have been also extremely satisfactory as a return on investment to the brands, because they've been able now to measure how many times the customer has repurchased the product, and what was the promoter score or the brand loyalty score for those brands that are enabling that direct interaction with the product as a means of engagement. So, in summary, it's every brand, every business is focused on how do I actually trigger that initial purchase, that first purchase where it's a trial, where what do they need to know, and in order to consider the purchase of my product, of my brand, in order for me to succeed in a certain market or in a certain customer segment. And that is critical in terms of education, purpose, like we mentioned, personalized recommendation, promotion based on data that you're able to gather, and then actually turn that into a purchase. Beyond that, it's how do you drive repurchase? So if I'm taking this product, I've tried it on, I seem to like it, actually, I'm enjoying it, then how do I actually buy it again? And that repurchase can be, via their unified commerce, or e-commerce, or it is again to buy it back from the stores. But then, in order for you to do so, you need to build that long-term relationship. Purpose helps a lot, sustainability and what have you. Similar things, I think, to what Mr. Prakash mentioned, is that there are certain farmers in Africa that are selling their product on a platform that allows for each and every product to be also uniquely identified, tracked, and then allows the consumer to tip the farmer, to support them to get out of poverty, to improve their livelihood. So, this is the long-term value that today I think consumers are looking at. How do we engage with the brand in order for us to repurchase, and then beyond that, to actually advocate it, to post on social media that, about the purpose of the brand, about, the benefits, about certain things that are really more close to my heart. So, in summary, in order for any kind of a company to be able to, engage the consumers, you need to turn your product verifiable. And the way that you can actually best engage them is by defining your purpose, the brand's purpose, and really enable the right education, the right content, the right personalized rewards and promotions, and for the consumers. And if you do so, then the majority of the shoppers or the consumers say that they will actually buy your brand, and they will actually promote it and advocate for it. And if you don't, or you actually abuse, or you're caught, for example, greenwashing by certain claims, having certain claims that cannot be supported, then that will really cause a lot of detriment to the brand. So, yeah, I mean, I think in summary, the way that the brands should look at the marketing 3.0, like Mr. Prakash was defining, is all about that first party data that you're able to actually aggregate from every interaction, and increase focus on the brand purpose and what does it stand for, and how it can engage with the consumers on that specific attributes or properties, etc. And then how do you also bring in certain social commerce into it? So, me to promote it on my social media and all of that. Beyond that, how do you keep engaging for long-term value, collecting more feedback, understand how they like their product to be consumed? What do they eat it with, or drink it with, or have it, or prepare it for their children with? And all of that additional data on where they purchase, how many they purchase, how do they prepare it, how do they offer it to their family, what are the purpose that they subscribe to, or what are their interests in terms of sports or influencer kind of interest. All of those are actually feeding into that AI powered, retargeting and direct marketing.
So, thank you, Mr. Prakash and Mr. Wasim, for sharing your insights on the future of brand marketing. I think we've all learned that the business models of the future are more direct to consumer. The brands that are going to come out as pioneers are those that can create a direct feedback loop with their consumers, gather data, and create hyper personalized experiences, right? It's all about building loyalty, and it's proven time and again that retention is always better than quick acquisitions. Wasim, I had one question for you when it comes to legacy brands, right? What advice do you have to brands that face challenges in adopting such innovative technologies into their business models to actually um, ready themselves for the future?
Yeah, and I think it's twofold. One is they need to prepare for that marketing 3.0, or a way to engage the consumers. So, what are their consumers really telling them today?
Mhm.
What percentage of them are interested in the purpose that they have? What percentage are interested in how to validate the quality? If it's a facial cream, well, how do I know that doctors would recommend me to put on my face, repeatedly, that kind of chemicals? How safe is it for me? If it is something related to, young, like children and mothers and so on and so forth. Well, how do you make sure that whatever you're giving your child is actually something that is really good for them as they grow? These are some extremely important consideration to work beforehand, and set up your strategy on what should be the engagement with the brands today. We've seen with certain brands in India where they've sponsored rescuing certain pets from the streets, stray pets, and so on and so forth, where and supported that. Some global brands that we know, cleaning certain beaches and neighborhoods. So these are not even like influencers and big names, but these are like real superheroes of the community that you can actually connect with. So what I'm trying to say, it doesn't have to be over the top. It can be really what is it that you can connect at the level of the consumers, and then deliver your value. And then beyond that, how do you engage with the right company that enables you to have the right augmented reality experiences, the right validation of your product claims and qualities. How do you actually build that direct to consumer two-way communication, real-time advice, real-time personalized discount? So if I'm buying this product and it's the fourth time that I'm buying it, it doesn't matter if I'm buying it in a Carrefour or if I'm buying it somewhere else. I still expect that the brand is recognizing, my loyalty, and that I get offered a certain status. And these are all only possible if you actually, build that kind of, a unique digital identifier or unique passport for the product that enable for the one-to-one direct marketing and direct commerce with the consumers.
And as well as the benefits of turning products interactive, I know you touched a bit upon how brands can validate their sustainable impact, but can consumers also take part in this initiative while and show their sustainable initiative with a specific brand through these interactive products?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, this is not an easy feat, by the way. It is
Mhm.
something that is extremely hard to do. So imagine a product is usually material, then gets transported somewhere where it gets, where it gets manufactured in several stages. The cotton becomes a yarn, and the yarn becomes a fabric. The fabric becomes the end product that is cut and to a certain taste and so on and so forth. And then it has a certain packaging on top. And all of those, they might be happening in different places from different suppliers. So aggregating all of that data that is required to verify that you're not actually, doing any kind of greenwashing is the challenge that the brands face. And the digital passport enables exactly that. It takes into consideration multi-tier supply chain, looking at where the material came from, what kind of chemicals are being used, the energy efficiency, transport emission, is it a near shore or a far shore accordingly. And then from there, actually, it allows for the brand to support with certificates, with all the right needed documentation that this product is actually exactly as it is claimed, and and then upsell the product, and and then drive advocacy behind it. I hope I answered your question in full.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you
Ria,
did.
if I
Thank
can, if I can also
Of
jump
course.
in, I just add 2 points. I work with one tea brand and one personal care brand. Exactly what Wasim said. Now, for example, the personal care brand, they have about 49 or 50, all the tests, BPA free, sulfate free, all the approvals. That's on the approval side, all natural ingredients. They also have a QR code which you could scan, and you could plant a tree. The consumers could scan the QR code, and they could participate in planting a tree as part of their initiative to driving green initiative. And you could also follow right up to where it is planted, get a picture of it, and also know how your tree is progressing. That's
Yeah,
the commitment for a $14-15 personal care brand.
yeah,
There's another tea brand. Tea is one of the second biggest employer in India. Huge. Tea industry in India is huge. So
yeah,
what these guys have said is, for every pack you buy, you scan the QR code, you could give a donation for the education of the tea farmers, and you know how they are progressing. And it's not, the company commits 1% of the top line, not profits. So it's huge. It's $100 million company. So you can imagine they donate. Plus, the consumers also feel they're part of a moment through, as to use Wasim's word, digital passport and digital technology, they are connected with it. So I thought I'll just mention these 2 examples. There may be many, many more, which you're all aware, but I thought I'll just mention this in this context. Yeah.
yeah,
And I'm so happy that you did mention that one. And I want to bring an example, if time allows us, Shreya. We've worked with a certain community in Asia, in Malaysia, during the time of COVID-19. And there was a movie called Juang, 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 and then Juang was all about actually what was happening around COVID-19 and how our life changed, and how a lot of like those frontliners, people that are the nurses and so on and so forth, are actually dying because they get exposed to the virus, and they're losing their livelihood, and like pilots and taxi drivers and so on and so forth. And then during the movie also, one of the actresses actually died because of COVID-19. And the question of the movie producers was, how do we actually take care of the community? How do we offer them back? And similar to what Prakash just mentioned, we said, well, you can always actually create certain kind of NFTs, which are virtual tokens that will have some kind of a unique asset that which is some kind of a photo of the her name was Abida Noor. So Abida Noor and all the actors, and saying thank you for supporting the families that lost their bread earners, and so on and so forth. And then give that a certain benefit related to Zhuang, maybe a discount on your merchandise, or something that can actually deliver a mutual win-win-win value. And that's exactly what they did. And in the process, they raised hundreds of thousands to support the community of COVID-19 affected families. So there's a lot that can be done with the brand, following the purpose, engaging direct with consumer, building long-term, following advocacy and activism.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Prakash and Mr. Wasim, for being part of our webinar today. I would like to now open the floor to some questions from our audience. If you have any, please shoot it in the chat and we'll take it up. So I think we have one question from Nina. How can businesses get started with data-driven marketing if they have limited resources or budgets?
This is a question that we get asked each and every time we are engaged. So how much? Okay, it sounds great, but so how much? And our answer is quite simple. We do work differently with different companies. So, for example, if it is a small brand that wanting to have to build its own name and so on and so forth, then we will charge accordingly in order for them to be able to, create those experiences with as low a cost as possible. Just focus on the core elements. And if they are brands that are, quite established and they have the right budget and they want to elevate their experiences with the consumers to the next level, then and link it maybe to some aspirations, interests like football or any kind of activities, then this is where we actually create a more customized solution linked maybe to their CRM, where they can acquire millions of customers at a fraction of the cost versus, for example, online marketing, online advertising, or and then their return on investment is an extremely important dimension. So when you look at how much it might actually be a way for you to tell yourself, oh, I cannot afford it. But I think when you look at what is the ROI for those 25, 35, $45,000 that I'm investing in direct to consumer advertising, education, sharing the purpose and creating those real-time interactive experiences, what is the typical ROI? And for us, what we want to make sure is that each and every brand, we're not selling to them, we're actually partnering with them. So we do is we promote some restricted kind of a pilot where they can validate the results, define the return on investment of the marketing 3.0 bundle, and then accordingly decide to take it to the next level.
Thank you. We have one more question from William. With the NFT market going down, are they still relevant? This is quite an interesting question.
It's a great question. So I mean, today we are in a world where any technology. If you look at, I think Gartner defines it the best. They call it the S curve. If you look at any kind of technology, it has two. It has a hype cycle, something which is the first side of the S curve. Just an S that is flipped on its head. You'll find the first hype cycle where everyone runs after, oh, it's going to be quick money or something or whatever, or I'm going to make something out of this. And then, it dies down. It happens to Bitcoin. It happened to any technology you want on the planet. And then you will find that it dies down a bit and people realize they're actually still not ready for it to launch. And then a lot of work will be being built around that, in those next 2 years. And then you will find the solution all of a sudden taking, like mass adoption. It happened with artificial intelligence, with augmented reality, with virtual reality, and I think with Meta and so on and so forth. We've seen, advocacy from Meta, and then later on, it moved, But having said that, it is still coming in the future. So when it comes to the NFT, yes, the first hype has actually hurt a few of the consumers. But what we see today is the NFT is around real world asset, real world benefit, real like something that really delivers value to the brand, instead of them putting on their balance sheet that, oh, this we owe this customer 2,000 points, and that customer, and that is a financial implication. They can mint those tokens, and that's a humongous benefit.
Yeah.
So yes, if it is done right, I think it's how.
I hope that answers your question, William. Mr. Prakash, maybe you can take this one. John has a question that what are the key challenges that brands might face when they're trying to implement real-time personalized marketing within multi-branded retail stores?
Yeah, I think it's a very good question, John. Thank you. Yes, I think even to go back to the previous question, we have to get started somewhere. There will be challenges. I'm also assuming there'll be a lot of internal challenges as much as you would have the external challenges of the real world of the stores, of multi-brand stores. Get started somewhere. I think don't expect everything to be changed overnight and you will be able to revolutionize your brand. Prove to yourself, prove to your, I think the leadership team, people like me and many of your colleagues, I'm assuming, will all come from old school. They'll say this is the way it is done. They want to get the power, or the test the confidence of what this real-time personalized marketing means. And as there was an earlier question about cost, prove that there are some quick early wins which can happen both internally and to the trade, and to tell the trade that this is what. Say that the important thing is, as you're doing more and more, I think Wasim mentioned, you are going to directly be communicating with the consumers. The more information, I mentioned the example of the spoiled child. They have 250,000 data points. It keeps growing because they're mining data so much. They're able to improve their products. They're able to offer fantastic experiences. So get started that. Yes, you will have challenges from to break away from the current way of working to a new way of working. I think it's better to have some small milestones, early wins, and then scale up for the big ones, both internally and externally.
Um, so we have a question from Rahul as well. What are the potential risks of over relying on data and losing the human touch in marketing efforts?
I think
Yeah.
Wasim will also answer, but I will also answer it
Yeah.
very.
Yeah.
I love this question. It's a great question. I think uh, 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 you will never lose human touch. The data will get you probably closer, not probably losing the human touch. Because let's face it, in the roadmap which Ria presented in the first slide, in Gen 1, you were talking to the trade, you were pushing stocks. It was more push. You hardly had any interaction with the consumers. You're coming a full circle. We are talking directly and mining a lot of consumer data, and you're probably getting richer and richer experience. So you probably are getting closer than moving away from consumer. Is my view. I'll hand it over to Wasim to probably add his thoughts on.
No, I couldn't agree, more with what you just said. Obviously, data is only reference points. So, and I would say it's all about the quality of data that you're picking up, Rahul, which will define if you're actually, losing human touch, or, gaining more human touch with the consumers. So if you're able to collect the right data points and ask the right question, maybe, or then you're able to figure out how to get closer to each and every consumer.
Perfect. Thank you. I hope that answered your question, Rahul. And we'll take one last question before we sign off from Jay. Can you share some insights or case studies on how brands have successfully used technology to detect and deter counterfeiters, and how this has impacted their brand reputation and consumer trust?
Yeah, and I think this is more than one dimension. By the way, this most probably we need to have. Hopefully, we get invited
Another
to
webinar. Yeah.
specific webinar on counterfeit. But in two sentences, there's a number of problems around the brand. If it is, product is authentic, But maybe even if a product is authentic, for example, but however it is being imported from a neighboring market where there's a price gap, where there's a difference in tax. In this part of the world, for example, Saudi has 15% VAT, Egypt has none if the product is being exported, and you find that the brand is being diluted on more than one front. It's being diluted by certain product coming in, which is almost the same product, manufactured maybe in Egypt versus Saudi, but now the price differential is something around 15% minimum. It can be actually more because there's also a price difference in Egypt because of the cost of living or GDP per capita. So you end up actually fighting your own brand and spending more money to fight your own brand. So how do you actually turn that around? It's you need to have the same thing which we were talking about, which is the digital product passport. This is already there is already a kind of a mandate for track and trace around the globe for medicinal products. In India, for example, it's now implemented. In the GCC main markets, it is already implemented. And that is the best kind of preventive deterrent to counterfeiters. Because if you spend money on counterfeiting products and taking one code and replicating it 100,000 times, the consumers will get a message, don't buy this product. The retailers will get a message, do not purchase those products. They most probably are fake. And then more importantly, the police will know where those products are being distributed, and they will go and question the retailers and then take action against whomever is selling it. So, this is the best preventive deterrent of counterfeit. The other way of reactive, which is go to the police, go to the lawyer, and look at IP lawyers, and is actually very cumbersome.
Mhm. Great. Mr. Prakash, would you like to add anything?
No, no, absolutely. I fully agree. I think he mentioned about you fighting your own brand. This is the great way. I worked on a couple of skin brands where the QR code is you can able to trust right up to the source, whether it's a counterfeit or a genuine product. And companies have successfully overcome this to make sure that their reputation and consumer trust is built both at the store level and at the brand level. So it's completely doable, and it's not challenging. I think that's coming. It's in fact you spoke of medicines. It's now coming across personal care and all the high value perfume and all the brands. So yeah,
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Wasim, Mr. Prakash, for joining us today. It's been a very insightful session. I hope that the audience has got some amazing takeaways on how data driven businesses are going to be the ones that stand out in the future and how consumer behavior is really shaping the brand marketing of the future. Thank you, everyone, for listening in and for all of your questions. And I'll drop our email ID in the chat. If you'd like to send some questions on there, we can continue the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you
thanks
for
Ria,
hosting
thanks
us.
Wasim. Thank you so very much for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.